I'm Molly Thomas in Erbil, Iraq. They were telling us about the days just after the attack. The fear levels were just so high. And the last three popes that have visited the U.S. did not speak to the U.S. Congress. And yesterday, Pope Francis got a standing ovation when he left. I'm Molly Thomas for Context TV here in refugee camps in Jordan. Known in the West as ISIS, Daesh is the Arabic term to describe the militant group terrorizing millions across Iraq and Syria. No torture is too heinous, no child slave too young, and no execution too gruesome for this group.
My
son was 7 years old.
A beautiful boy with a full life ahead of him, simply caught in the crossfire.
I live in Mosul and I was employee for the government, so I was target for the ISIS. They thought that if they killed my big son, that I will go to them. That's why they killed my son.
And this is really the poorest of the poor, because the people that could afford have gone off and found places to rent.
But those people here actually either have nothing to begin with, or they had something there, you know, back home in Nineveh, which is like a car or a house. And here in the Middle East, this is like a big thing. If you have a car, this is what you own. This is your own life. And they left
that all away.
Exactly. Those people here, they would beg you for $1.
Our correspondent Molly Thomas is back from being in Paris. Molly, tell us about walking the streets there at a time like that.
I would describe it as somber, but at the same time lively. I mean, on the somber side, you can't miss the flowers, the tributes, the pictures that show up at these memorials in District 10 and 11. You walk by, I mean, people, even on their way to work, will just stop and take a moment. But at the same time, when it's lively. I mean, part of French culture is to be out at cafes, it's to have a drink on a patio. People are still out and about. And I think the tough thing about talking about France is that Paris is the tourism capital of the world. And so you have, everybody's there. So it's really tough sometimes when you're out in the streets to figure out who's Parisian and who's not, who's affected and who's not. If you believe the world has angels, now is a time they are needed at this cafe. 10 innocent lives lost, all with a connection to this restaurant. Manager Damien Putz asked for no cameras as he sat down with us after his shift. I mean, how do you deal with coming back to work and just everything going back to normal?
At this point, I don't know.
We look around this camp, I mean, people have set up shops, they've set up businesses.
We hope and pray that the conflict will be over in Syria so that refugees can go back to their country safely. But this is going to be, I mean, a long time till this will happen.
When many people think refugees, they assume that these people are living in refugee camps. But here in Jordan, the majority of Syrian refugees are actually living in host communities like here in Zarqa. Now the problem with this is that services can be scarce and scattered. The UN says that 2/3 of Syrians living like this are actually in poverty.
This is our bedroom.
Nizar's family is a part of that demographic. 4 energetic children confined to a tiny, dilapidated space. Notice the roof.
Yeah, that's for the fan, but we don't have anything. Electricity-wise as well, like it's not safe.
Yeah, because of open cords.
Yeah. It's a lost generation. Everyone is scattered, no more education. We're going towards a lost generation.
And what will that mean for Syria?
no future.
In Haiti, though, what was it like when you got there? Were you concerned at all for your safety? Because you guys kind of had to get in and out and get your footage and your story and then leave really quick.
Yeah, I think the difference, I guess, with just journalists and traveling with a group is that you're responsible for the safety of all these people. So, of course, security detail following us everywhere, armed guards with us everywhere. You can't stay in one place for a long time because you draw attention. So much to think about. But this is part one of my series, which is going to be going on throughout the week here. It is called Strength in Numbers. A 7.0 quake may have rattled the Isle of Hispaniola, but it's the conscientious aftershock that woke up the world. Our first stop, Gonaives, a village 150 kilometers north of Port-au-Prince. And even outside the capital, away from the earthquake's immediate reach, a trail of innocent victims. Orphans from
the quake. Most of them call me Poppy, or Father, which is just too much.
Breaks your heart a little bit?
Just a little bit.
The rubble in the road speaks for itself. Before the earthquake, Haiti was the poorest country in the Western Hemisphere. 4 years later, not much has changed. We are in Obui. It's one of the poorest areas of Léogâne. As you can see, extreme poverty. To put it in perspective, the majority of Haitians are living under US $2 a day. Canada reconfirmed Haiti as a focus country this year. However, funding has not been committed yet. Do you think Haiti will always be dependent on countries like Canada? Now, amidst this, sadness, there is hope, though. There is no drug cure, but you say there is a human cure.
That's right.
In North America, when we heard about Ebola, it's you and Dr. Kent Brantley that most people will think of first.
Yeah.
If an election was called today, in what way would you, Justin Trudeau, be vulnerable? Minister Norris came out quite candidly on the subject. I was listening to an interview on John Gormley. He said the Buckingham debacle was one of the worst decisions in Canadian Academy. A little harsh from, a minister that's handling the file?
Well, he was very, he wanted to be emphatic about the government's concern for what had happened there and the need to now have a path forward.
Do you want your minister speaking that candidly, I guess? It's a pretty bold statement.
I want us to get results.
The Conference Board of Canada put out a report. They talked about dispelling myths, and they talked about how P3s across the country have worked for the most part and how they can work in a beneficial way. Do you ever think there is a time for P3s? U.S. President Barack Obama is in the German capital this morning. Let's go live to his speech from Berlin.
During that time,
Breaking news out of Turkey this morning. Clashes between riot police and protesters continue right now. Now here is a live look at the protesters in Taksim Square. This is in Istanbul. Now, hundreds of people gathered on the right-hand side of your screen. You can see at the bottom of your screen water cannons spouting out water. Of course, this is to keep protesters away. 7:57, breaking news at this hour that the cardinals in Rome are just about to vote about when to hold the conclave. What a perfect time to talk to our CTV national reporter who's in Rome right now, Tom Kennedy. Thanks for joining us today, Tom.
Molly, I know it wasn't easy to get credentialed to cover the Pope live at the United Nations, but thank you for doing all of that work from the inside there. Now tell us about the scope of the Pope's speech.
It was quite a sweeping speech, Lorna. Pope Francis addressed more than 100 heads of state in just under 45 minutes. And he had a lot to say to the international community, but at the heart of every single issue that he touched on was this cry for social justice. You're married to a staff sergeant?
Yes.
So also on the RCMP?
Yeah.
Who outranks who? Can I ask that question?
I outrank him. Yes.
How does that work? I mean, who's the boss at home? You feel that pressure to dress a certain way, be a certain way, because you are the leader of the opposition's wife?
Well, I don't wear my grubbiest pants to the co-op when I go for groceries, so.
That's changed.
No, you know.
Did you always dream or think that you would be married to such a leader?
No. No, I just thought I'd have a normal life with a normal husband and normal kids and go through life. Yeah, so this is a little different.
You talked about that first lady position. I mean, in your eyes, in your mind, what does that mean? You talked about racism. Mm-hmm. I think a lot of people, especially if you're not from a minority here in Canada, you don't think it exists.
Growing up with racism in Saskatchewan and Regina is just it's daily to this day.
Has anyone surprised you, Jacqueline, though, on the flip side of that? Of maybe you thought they would be coming at you maybe harsher and they completely surprised you or apologized?
I've never been apologized to for racism or discrimination.
And how do you keep the man that can actually ask the Prime Minister of Canada to sit down in the House? How do you keep that man in line? 7:10 this morning. Let's check in with our business dude over at BNN. Michael, of course, called me Dudette in our last hit. So, hey, dude, what's going on?
Well, what I'm looking at, very good. I like you.
So you're performing tonight? Big performance coming up?
I am. I'm really excited about it, actually.
Any hints for us? Because we know your big song, Call Me Maybe, but is it going to be in rendition or something different?
I will say that style-wise, I was kind of inspired by, like, Cyndi Lauper. And we're going like a little bit funkier and rebellious with the second song. So yeah.
You guys are up for Fan Choice Award. That's a huge one. Lots of competitors. Who is your biggest competition out there?
Oh, I feel like almost everyone in that category is like way beyond us in that realm. But it's just crazy that we're even considered in that part. So it's really cool.
That was Metric. Of course, it's still electric down here. We're loving it. Red carpet action. A couple more bands to come. Stay with us. More CTV Journey to the Junos coming your way.